Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, Aerial Property Advisors, Perfect Building Maintenance. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Avison Young, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Genova Burns, Handro Properties, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Polsonelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman & Wakefield, Maring Goff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
New York City, Long Island has one major problem. I mean, a number of others, but one major problem in housing. It's a question of affordable housing for the people who live and work in New York. So today I've assembled this group of business leaders to provide their explanation, experience, and information on the subject of affordable housing. My guests are from Long Island, the president of the Long Island Housing Partnership, Peter Elkowitz. Dan Martin, who's the president of the New York City Housing Partnership. David Cleghorn, who is the senior vice president for development for Help USA. And last but not least, from Queens, Ira Brown, who is the head of development, senior development head, and general counsel of the Briarwood organization. So if one had to say, what is affordable housing? Because David has a little different. He is supportive in other services, which we'll discuss. What's affordable housing? And who qualifies for it?
Yeah, you have so many different ranges of affordable housing. As you start with David and you say we have supportive housing. Supportive housing can look at people with disabilities, and you have homeless housing, which can also take into supportive housing or battered, but you move up the ladder.
But let's talk about basic affordable housing, because I really would like this to be a little primer for people to understand affordable housing. Because people watch my shows from around the world on the internet, on the Stoller Report app and so on, and they really want to understand affordable housing. They want to know how they can get into a new building that you're building in the Bronx. So what is affordable housing?
Typically between then 16 and 120% of adjusted median income.
Okay, so what is the adjusted median income for New York City?
Around $75,000 for 100% of median income for a family of four.
So let's look at it this way. Median income is $75,000. 100% of median income is that. 60% means we're at about $45,000 for the low end, and 130% means we're at $105,000. So people qualify in different rings for median income. That's for both New York City and Long Island?
No.
A little different on Long Island.
And it's adjusted for family size.
Right.
Long Island, the median income at 100% for family four is a little over $106,000.
So it's $106,000, and we also have the 60 to 130%?
Correct.
So one of the big problems that Long Island has is that they need to retain young people. And part of the reason how you retain young people is housing.
So the majority of our people these days are looking at our webpage and calling in because they're looking for a specific area, usually around their area of employment or a place they may be familiar with. They'll call in once they review on our website what is available to them and the incomes and requirements.
So let's specifically talk. I noticed, I went to your website, and I believe Avalon Bay Communities has a number of residential rental developments out in Long Island.
Correct.
So there's a development. Let's take a city, Garden City, or hypothetically a different location that they have. They are renting apartments to the general public at a certain dollar level. How much is the difference for somebody who's in that affordable housing component as opposed to the market rate component?
So when you look at the rents right now, and you look at the fair market rents, which went up tremendously from last year to this year, someone for a typical one-bedroom, two-bedroom, mainly one- and two-bedroom units, it varies, but we make sure they're affordable to someone earning at 80% or 60% or 50% below, and we try to stagger that so we have different incomes that we're trying to reach. In some of the developments, they have 3 or 4 different developments. The municipality or the funding source will tell us who we have to sell to and what the incomes have to be.
And it's a lottery?
It's done by a lottery initially, and then it's after the lottery list is ranked and we go through that lottery list, we will then continue taking names on a first-come, first-served basis.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about New York City affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Who gets it? What's available on new developments?
New developments, we typically have a community preference. So a new development will go up. You'll say, I have 100 units of housing. It's done through a low-income housing tax credit where it's affordable at 60% of median income. There are community preferences. So the community will, through the community board, will have first crack. It's 50% typically a community preference, and there are smaller preferences for municipalities.
Right, fire department.
That's exactly right.
Police force,
and then
people with disabilities.
Right.
And after
Hearing
that, it
impaired, mobility impaired.
Yeah, and then it opens up after that to a larger group. But you are working through that 60% of median income and finding those individuals that fit. Typically in the new, not an inclusionary now, but just a typical development, which is 2 different animals, it's typically 10, 12 to 1 applicants for every unit.
What is inclusionary? And then I'm going to ask about what supportive and other housing that helped us. What is the term inclusionary? Inclusionary,
different, a little bit different on Long Island. I'll let Peter talk about that. In New York City, if you are looking for a zoning bonus, you're looking for a bigger unit, bigger building because of zoning height, then you have an obligation for inclusionary. So let's say you have a 10-story building and you're going into a zoning change that will allow you to go up now 30%, so you have 13 stories. In exchange for that, it's typically a 20% inclusionary. So you're going to have 20% of your building at or below 6% of median income in perpetuity.
Now, but
so that's your exchange.
Isn't it true that if there's inclusionary within the same community board, which it is, there has to be a building built for lower income people?
You can have a set aside. In other words, so it's not in your building, you can have one set aside.
Let's take the developers on this side. That's why we put them on both sides. Okay.
I was wondering that.
Okay, you've been developing, Briarwood has been developing for the last 30 years. You were one of the leaders, the initial people to get into affordable housing. We realize that you're great humanitarians, but why do people become affordable housing developers?
Well, Kathy Wild, who was, I believe, the first leader of the Housing Partnership in New York City, came into the office, and the Rizzo family, she tried to get them to join on to build affordable housing. They didn't believe it was going to work back in the late 80s. She kept pushing them, and they went into it. And they realized that it was a way for, besides giving back to the community, they saw the opportunity to A, make a set developer fee, and if you were the general contractor, there was some room to make some money on the general contracting. So you had very little money at risk and basically a super demand for the product. So it was a way to limit your risk, limit your investment, and get a good return.
So today, talk to me about the affordable housing you're building currently, not as contractors, but as a developer.
Well, we have 3 projects that we've actually joint ventured with not-for-profits. So we're helping the not-for-profit achieve their goal of providing housing for their target audience. At the same time, we're sharing the burden and providing the support to help get the project developed and
Yeah,
to build.
specifically, you're building an affordable component right now in the Bronx.
We have a number of projects in the Bronx. One is 199 units of affordable housing using tax credits. So
And
it's
that's
60%
all affordable.
AMI.
That's all affordable.
It's all affordable. There's 8,000 square foot of retail at the base. And when you do retail at the base in some of the communities, it's a little bit difficult to get it rented up at first.
Right, so you have to, a number of those things have been rented up under the Fresh program, or the smaller groceries.
Right, but the fresh, you do have to have a supermarket. There are certain criteria under the program. They have to be a certain size. They have to set aside certain areas within the store for certain product. So it's not available in all communities.
So here we now have a true nonprofit. Talk to me about HELP and what their mission is and the type of housing that you build. I mean,
No, Peter.
no, I didn't want to hurt. No, you're a nonprofit, but you're helping agencies.
Yes.
They are a nonprofit who has a specific mission of taking care of housing for people.
Right. So HELP has been in operations for 30 years. We're actually entering our 30th year now.
It was originally created by Andrew Cuomo.
It
right?
was as a response to the then homeless epidemic in the 1980s in New York City, which I think when I reviewed the earlier documents of our early projects, everybody thought would have been solved by now, but hasn't been, unfortunately. But we are a mission-based nonprofit, so we develop permanent and supportive housing for people that are 60% below area median income, and we
Explain supportive and the additional the type of supportive. I guess and then we'll talk about LGBT.
Yeah, sure. So just about every project that we do is going to be smaller than a lot of the for-profit developers who are doing a couple hundred unit projects at a time. We're more in the 50 to 150 unit range. In New York City, depending on what type of financing we're using, we're anywhere from 25% to 60% of the units being set aside for people that require supportive services. And so those people are going to be, typically for us, those people are coming from the DHS homeless shelter system. But we've also done projects in the past for survivors of domestic abuse, HIV and AIDS, as well as we've done quite a number of veteran projects in the recent past, both here in New York and outside of New York.
Let's talk about current projects that you're working on today for new current developments.
Well, we have one project. We have a homeless veterans project that's in construction in the Bronx now. That will be. We should get our TCO in August.
Explain to me, what do you mean by homeless veterans?
This is a project that was built. That's being built on a site near Yankee Stadium. 48 total apartments. So it's a small project. 27 of those units are set aside for homeless veterans. What that means is priority preference will go to applicants that are veteran, regardless of discharge status, and who have been homeless in the last year. If we don't find 27 of those folks, which we are fairly confident that we will, that requirement will then just go to homeless tenants without the veteran requirement.
When I hear the term homeless, a homeless person doesn't have income. So how are they able to pay the rent? Who's going to be able to support the maintenance of the building?
Well, first off, our experience with homeless housing is that oftentimes folks living in shelter do have income. They have low-wage jobs, or they have some sort of disability or other source of income, just not enough to afford rent in New York City. On the project in the Bronx, we have a contract with NYCHA for project-based Section 8 contract, which will support those units. So the tenant will pay 30% of their income towards the rent, and the voucher makes up the difference. We also have a supportive service contract through the New York 3 program, which will provide case management and medical services for those 27 tenants. So it's going to be a heavily subsidized building where the tenant won't be overburdened on their rent payment, and they can focus on long-term tenancy.
Now, you also said tell me about some of the supportive services. What are the services?
Typically on a homeless deal, we're going to have supportive services that are all geared towards helping people remain in housing, right? So if somebody's been homeless, chances are they've been homeless more than once. There's an underlying cause of that homelessness. When we get people, and the best way to solve homelessness is through permanent housing. We get people into permanent housing, and then our job becomes keeping them there. So that means learning how to budget their money, how to pay bills, how to get along with neighbors, how to take care of their responsibilities so that they can maintain their residency, not violate their lease, and have to move on. So to do that, we have case managers that help with entitlements, with budgeting. We have referral sources into the larger community for mental health or substance abuse treatment if that's necessary. We have most of our projects either have or will be able to refer people to services for children if families have children, so that daycare, summer camp, things like that can be handled so that people can focus on staying employed and staying in their units.
Question. One of the topics that has been in the news quite a bit is the New York City Housing Authority developments, which are in many cases from 30 years to maybe as old as 75, 80 years of age. Who's living in those housing? How do people find out about it? Because I understand they have big waiting lists and so on.
The Housing Authority is, well, I think probably where you're going with this, if you saw in the paper today, I think they're taking a $35 million hit from the federal government, which supports NYCHA housing. That's where the majority of the money comes into to support it. And I think you see a lot of Section 8 in there as well, but those are always listed, those units. But the difficulty we're seeing in the NYCHA buildings is that they are bleeding red and they're losing more money. So the ability to care for the units, care for the upkeep of the building is getting much more difficult every year. Down the line, I think we're going to have to see, and I believe NYCHA, who, under the leadership has done, I think, a magnificent job with the amount of money that's coming into them to keep the buildings up and going. But you're starting to see, when I talk about FAR, floor area ratio, the NYCHA buildings have a lot of space available to them that can be used for future development, so it allows the continued upkeep of those buildings. And I think as we start to see less and less federal dollars going into NYCHA, you'll start to see more opportunity where NYCHA can now sell off or move different land to then enable them to repair their buildings.
Which relates to a subject over here. It's always great to build affordable housing if you can, but housing, if you're paying X dollars per foot for the land and the construction is a certain dollar, it's not profitable even for the nonprofit or for a for-profit developer to do business. You need a certain dollar amount that the cost is over there. How do you find out about opportunities to build new affordable developments?
Well, we're getting listings from brokers every day. People know us, they call us, they let us know if properties are for sale. But there is a range. I mean, if you spend more than $50 basically a buildable square foot, it's not necessarily going to fit the programs as they stand, and you're not going to, unless you get more subsidy from the government. So it's a push and a pull.
And listening, and forgive me, one of the Briarwood's competitors, I was listening to them, and they said, same question, how do you find that site? He says, well, I go search an area, I look, and then I go 2 subway stops farther. Because the opportunity there, just finding that property, and what you see now when you start to see the Bronx is developing, is because the Bronx still have affordable land. We have 2 projects with for-profit developers, each about 400 units, that's taking place in the Bronx. You're building in the Bronx. Why? Because you can still find some affordable land, and that raises the question of certainly gentrification in the Bronx as well.
So wait, here, let's talk about affordable land and other opportunities, even for Help USA and so on. People sometimes fail to say that there are 5 boroughs in the city of New York. One borough which still has a potential land is Staten Island.
And you're seeing some Staten Island development. You are now. You're starting to see some movement in Staten Island.
There's some large things happening down
Right.
near the ferry.
But that's market rate.
No, there's affordable taking place.
There's 20% affordable.
Yeah, we have a few of them. Not like the Bronx or Brooklyn back in its heyday or Harlem back in the heyday, but you're starting to see some movement there.
Long Island has a inclusionary zoning law in place, pilot program for Nassau and Suffolk, And any new developer with building 5 or more units is required to build 10% affordable in their development there. So, and if not, then there's other options, but mainly they build.
What are the other options? They pay a higher
The other
rate?
options is to find another in the same location, another piece of property that they could build on, or to pay into a fund, and there's a calculated number to pay into that fund. But most of the developers are putting in the affordable housing in the areas that they're building. One of the earlier developers that you mentioned is building in Great Neck. There's affordable in the Great Neck rental units. Long Island's a little, I think, unique, different than Dan in some respect. We don't encourage preferences. Our fire departments are volunteers, so the volunteers are local, and it could cause a discriminatory issue if we had preferences, so we kind of open it
Now,
up.
Long Island has another situation because, as I was saying prior to the show in the green room, is when you qualify for an affordable apartment or an affordable purchase for sale out in Long Island, you have to qualify each year that your income isn't above that category.
That's correct. A lot of the local municipalities, and Mike, you know a little bit about the Long Island. You got 2 cities, 2 counties, 13 towns and 95 villages. So they all have, a lot of them have their own rules. They require us to recertify those rental units on an annual basis.
Let's look at it this way. Hypothetically, Ira Brown is living in an affordable development in one of these areas. His income last year goes up. He finds a new job over there, and he's now earning too much. He's earning more than 130% of the area median income or so on. Does he have to move from his residence?
Really depends on the development and what the municipality requires, but usually there's some flexibility for him to, time frame for him to either move out, or they may have other units at different incomes that would qualify that he may still be able to stay there, or he may have to move out if he's over income.
So, what about New York City, Dan?
No, you're not income challenged there. Once you qualify, you qualify. Especially on the home ownership
You
side.
have rent stabilization. That's a protection that. In order to get the subsidies and things of that nature, you have to.
Let's talk about the home ownership of affordable housing. I know Briarwood in the early 2000s was a major leader in north of 96th Street, where you built 3-family homes, and then you also built homes on the west side redevelopment over there.
We built 110 co-ops,
Right.
affordable co-ops.
Affordable co-ops. But what happens on those affordable co-ops? Can the person who bought that co-op make a profit, or is it limited?
It's limited because the person who is going to buy them has to still be within the AMI bands of the original purchaser. The AMIs go up with inflation, but there's still that same band.
You can buy out of that. So depending on, there's limited equity co-ops, there's, third party, there's all different types of co-ops.
Right.
But traditional co-ops that were built ground up for affordable housing, they have subsidy periods of 20, 25 years, and that subsidy wears down over that period of time. So if you're in that home long enough, you've given back the subsidy. If your home has enough value and you want to sell it, you can pay back those monies at the same time. The idea behind the home ownership side, different than rental, is to build that wealth, to give the people opportunity to own their own home.
So, for example, I know that Jeff Levine with the Sunas in the early 2000s built on 116th Street.
And he had
and he had difficulties at that time getting people to buy because it was a neighborhood in gentrification. Now, those people who may have bought an apartment for $150,000, 15 years later, they can sell it for a market rate, or
I think
some of them are selling for.
But Michael, think of it this way: they were the ones that moved into that community when nobody else wanted to. So they are reaping the benefits.
Restrictions on the older projects were much less.
Yes,
than they
and
are
I have
today.
homes that we built in the early days, down in the Coney Island days, what we built in the early 80s, where they have not appreciated as much in value. They're fine homes that people are living. It's worked well for them, but it hasn't appreciated to the same amount as the East Harlem community has.
So on Long Island, it's a little bit different. There's 3 forms, as Dan was mentioning earlier, of what we call shared equity housing. One is the deed-restricted homes, and their resale usually is based upon a consumer price index for real estate, and it escalates each year. The second is the limited equity co-op, which which Dan mentioned. And the third is the land trust model, where the land is always held by the not-for-profit. So we now have established a land trust, and we do recognize that as a homeowner, you want them to reap benefits, otherwise
Right. I
they're
mean,
not
that
the
was,
one
as
in the
we
rental.
would say, that's the American dream, to have home ownership.
But you don't want, when you have limited land, you don't want someone walking away with $500,000 and flip the house shortly. Or as you said earlier, basically that someone comes in and they can't make it affordable to the next purchaser, because that's the intent, is to keep it affordable.
And we have those programs as well. We have flip tax, same idea, where if you sell, there's a flip tax that goes back into the reserves.
The government has been moving towards longer and longer regulatory agreements to keep the units, if not permanently affordable,
perpetuity.
certainly affordable for 50, 75 years.
So how does a nonprofit, as opposed to this nonprofit, acquire land in today's market?
Well, that's the biggest challenge right now for us. We developed a bunch of properties back in the late 80s and early 90s where we have a lot of unused FAR. And so we are negotiating with housing finance agencies and HPD on adding units to those spaces. But that's a finite resource. Once we're done with that, we're done with that. We are a large nonprofit, and we can, for the most part, do all of our pre-development expenses on our own. We don't have to have partners. We don't have to borrow a lot of money. But as I start to dip our toe a little bit into acquiring properties from brokers and so forth, it's a 6-month process for us to do the due diligence, go out to get a pre-development loan. At any point during that 6-month process, a cash buyer comes in and they take the property from us. So one of the ways that we're doing it now is partnering with some smaller private developers who have more cash, but they don't necessarily have the development expertise to do affordable housing and supportive housing. So they'll purchase the site. The property that we're doing in the Bronx was that way. They purchased the site. They're our development partner in the deal. We're doing the deal together. But they were able to bring the land to the table, and we were able to bring the subsidy and all of the soft money and the tax credits to the table.
So here's one last question. The financial institutions, how are they looking at financing affordable housing? How interested are...
It depends what. You go first.
So I know what you're going to say. It depends on what you're building, because a few years ago, any new home ownership, like co-ops or condos or whatever, any home ownership really was not looked at, because we had such a downturning economy. There was foreclosure going on, so they kind of went into.
And in today's market?
Today's market, it's changing. They're now lending again on.
But you've got the deed restrictions.
But you have the deed restrictions, and you got to get over the deed restrictions. Most of our deed restrictions, in case of default, are basically go away. So that's one of the issues.
And how do you...
The banks are doing a lot of rental.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's
rental. That's
rental.
my
You
point.
have
Everything
They
has to be
have
under.
CRE
credits,
requirements.
Community Reinvestment Act. Banks are graded on Community Reinvestment Act credit, and it's also, again, we talked about market risk. There's less market risk in a 80% or 60% low-income housing tax credit rental than there is in a home ownership transaction. And we say deed restrictions. What we mean by that is, in case of foreclosure, you can't sell them into the secondary market because there's a deed restriction.
And what about you?
Well, in our area where we're strictly in the low-income housing tax credit world, it's a bad time right now. The uncertainties of the corporate tax reform have left some investors have completely exited the market. Others are taking a time out. Others are still doing deals.
So tax credits aren't selling for $1.10.
So a project that we're closing in June went from $1.19 on the equity pricing to $1.03. Then in real dollars, that was $4 million in equity. That's out of that deal.
So in summation, the city, the state, and the market, and the regular developers, the for-profit and non-profit, are all working to build affordable housing in the community, and hopefully, subject to government regulations, changes in administration, but housing is being created, and I'd like to thank Peter, Dan, Dave, and Ira, and I'll see you next week.